investors.
I am here with the Property Challenge podcast.
I teach investors all around the world how to become real estate investors and
How to overcome their challenges. Join me here every single week. PCP, the Property Challenge podcast.
when I started this podcast and when I said, what am I going to talk about? I said the best name is
The Property Challenge.
Hey investors, welcome to another episode of the Property Challenge podcast with your host, me, Terica Lynn Smith, and boy, do I have a topic for you guys. But before I go through what's been going on with me, do me a favor. If this podcast is blessing you, if you're absolutely loving this podcast, click the like button and subscribe, and then share it with 3 people that you believe it's going to bless. So a lot of people don't know this past month has been so many challenges, and I've been finding myself having to pivot a lot. And so one of the things that I realized was that there's some things that's okay to be torn down. And so today I'm going to teach you how to tear down a property management company. That's right, I said it. Tear down a property management company. So for those of you who do not know, I am a successful real estate investor. I've been doing real estate for 21 years. I have pretty much played every single role in real estate other than, maybe like the oil and gas industry. But I do know quite a bit about real estate just because when you're in it so long, you kind of get like these little nuggets along the way. And so because of that, I know how to do a lot of different people's jobs in the industry. And knowing how to do the jobs is important because obviously you have to be able to train those people. And for the life of me, I was looking at our property management company. I'm like, why is this? Why do we keep going through so many people? Why are people lying, talking about they have property management experience whenever the team was hiring them, but then they get into the office and they don't know what to do on day one? And so it's not even necessarily knowing what to do on day one. It's just when you have certain experience, it shows day one, right? And so I'm like puzzled and baffled for this. I say this past month. I would say the past 3 months, probably the past 3 months. And what I realized was that I'm expecting something out of my property management division that I did not instill. So I had to tear down the entire property management division and start with the foundation of the business. And so for some of you right now, you're holding on to a business that needs to be torn down. There is nothing wrong with tearing it down and starting over. Sometimes that's where you find the miracles. That's where you find opportunities. That's where you find that growth that you know that you have on the inside of you. Never in a million years. I'm very successful. Let's say that. And I find myself as the lead property manager of my company. How can I be the CEO and the lead property manager and be on, YouTube teaching you guys about real estate and being able to host webinar classes? It's a lot that goes into my day, right? And so time is very important, and how I spend my time efficiently matters. But what I did not expect was whenever I was building my property management department, I did not realize that my digital business was going to take off the way that it did. And because it took off so fast, I literally pretty much abandoned the property management division and really focused on, the digital aspect of things. And so when I start asking questions, I am not one that points a finger. Like, you got some bosses that point the finger like, I fired this person because they wasn't good, or I did this because it wasn't right. Whenever you point that finger, you still got all of these fingers pointing back at you. So I need it for myself to be reminded of that. And so anytime I start questioning, I'd be like, well, Terica, how could you have improved? I always start with myself. As a leader of a company, whether you're a CEO, Whether you're a property manager, whether you are a COO, CFO, it does not matter what your role is. Control, it does not matter. Secretary, administrative, assistant, whatever it is. Where you find the most growth is when you ask yourself, what could I have done better? And so when I start seeing these things, the first person I go to is myself. Because in order for anything to change to the way that I like it, I have to be the one to start it. Now, I will tell you where I went wrong. So before we even opened back up my property management division, because I had it before a few years ago, I stopped it because it was so much work. It was so tedious. I hired a company. They were a complete nightmare. They were stealing from me night and day. And so I had to fire that company because they were stealing from me, and I had to take it back on myself. Now, when I took it back on, that's when the internet business started booming. So because the internet business was like going so fast, and I'm trying to keep up with all of these events that I have to do, these classes and these meetups and the trips and everything that I have to do on this end, I never came back over to the property management division. So what I did was I hired someone who was really good, I would say. And she came in and she was my hire. And then she ended up hiring the rest of the people to kind of build out the team. This person, I will always forever be grateful for her because she held it down for me in a season where I needed it. When in a season that I felt like I was drowning, she really did hold it down for me. And shout out to her just for being a rock star, just for being a superstar. And sometimes it takes for you to see what someone else is doing because you have to do it to be able to appreciate that. And so that was a great life lesson for me because what I did was I did to her what everybody do to me. I threw her out of floaty in the middle of an ocean. That's it. And she was drowning. I threw her a floaty, meaning she had free control to hire and fire who she wanted. But she was drowning because she still needed that leadership. And although she was really good at what she did, she was not good at managing people because she didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And so that ended up having us to have a bunch of unqualified maintenance crews, a bunch of unqualified site managers, unqualified vendors. It was just like a nightmare, one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And it gets to a point where you're like, who fault is this? So she ended up quitting. She said, it's too much. I can't take it. I'm not resting. I'm working all these hours a week. And I was trying to save her. I offered her more money. I said, hey, can we do this? What if I step in? But by then she already made up her mind. So when she decided to leave, I immediately reached out to someone who I know that's been doing property management for a long time. But this is where I went wrong. I be trying to help people that don't want to help themselves. I don't know if I'm the only one guilty of that, but I really be trying to help people when they don't want to help themselves. So I hired this person who I thought loved me, but she ended up hating me, and she was tearing my company down from the inside out. She made me believe that she had my back. I flew her from Atlanta. I put her in an apartment. I paid all her bills. I let her drive my company car for 30 days. I made sure she was well taken care of, gave her a sign-on bonus. I laid out the red carpet because I knew what happened with my last person, but I also knew that I wanted to make sure that I would be this buffer for this person that's coming in. So when this person came in, you got to realize you can't help everybody. So I didn't realize that this person had a money problem, right? Like I didn't know that they would, like when people are desperate for money, they do certain things. So I didn't pay attention to all the red flags I believe God was showing me. And this was what my punishment was. Because sometimes we are Samson in our own story. Sometimes we be so far up into la world and, thinking we can't be taken down until the enemy sends somebody in that's familiar with you, whisper the right things, tell you how they're going to get everything back together and get everything on track. And they say they got your back and do all of this. And what you do, you let your guard down. And that's what I did. I let my guard down. And I would lie and say that this did not hurt me. I would be lying if I said that, but the truth is it did hurt me. It bothered me a lot because I know that I was good to her. I made sure I was good to her. And so at the time she was telling me that people in my company was talking about me and saying all of these horrible things. And I'm talking very high level executives that she is talking this about. But then I find out she's going to all these other people and she's talking about me. And so now all of this is getting back to me. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so eventually she pulled me to the side and said, hey, I'm leaving your company. I'm going to go work somewhere else. After everything I did, she did that. Stop trying to save people that don't want to be saved. When somebody is in a situation, they probably in that situation because they placed themselves in that situation. And sometimes they got to walk this out with God. And if you get in the middle of it trying to be Captain Save a Hero, you get your edges taken off. And that's exactly what happened to me. Now, I had a choice. I could fold in the middle of this, or I can stand up and rise. She hired some of the worst people ever. She didn't care what the experience was. She didn't test it. She didn't verify. She did nothing. So when I had to step back up, I said, okay, I'm tearing this whole thing down. I am tearing down my property management division and I'm going to start over. This is a business that I know. So what I have to do is if I got to put everything else on the side, I'm sorry, I can't do this webinar. I'm sorry, I can't go to this meetup. I'm sorry, I can't teach this class right now. I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. I had to put myself in time out to say, hey, get back to what you good at. You too doggone good to allow your company to go down like this. That's how I talk to myself sometimes in the mirror. You got to talk to yourself and be confident. You got to be like, yeah, I'm that woman. I can handle this, right? I might be frustrated. I may got tears in my eyes. I may feel like I got the weight of the world on my shoulder, but I know how to hold it down. And so I started tearing everything down. Why? Because it wasn't the foundation that I built. If this foundation was built on the last person who I hired, she had nothing but anger and animosity. She ran all the other people away that the other person who did a really great job had in place, right? But the second hire that I made, she ended up running everybody away because I did not know she was, I didn't know she didn't like me. I don't know how else to say it, right? Like I just didn't know she didn't like me. I would have never done what I did if I knew that she did not like me. But that's a win for her because she felt like maybe she got the upper hand. But one thing I know and one thing I'm sure about is you cannot play with God's children. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. Yes, you got children. But when you do something to one of God's favorite children, you have to answer to God. And that's what I'm going to stand on. Vengeance is not mine. I'm not mad at her. I wish her the best. May she go with Godspeed. But at no point in time do I ever want to see her again in my life. That's what I feel. So when I started tearing down my company, I started noticing this person, she was working for me all this time and she did nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is nothing verifiable that she can say that she did to benefit our company. She spent more time trying to tear me down and make me look horrible to everybody else around me than what she did to build me up. What she told me she was going to do, she did the complete opposite. You see, sometimes your love for someone can dismiss your discernment. And that's why it's so important for you to use your discernment whenever you are, bringing someone onto your team, because all it takes is one bad apple to rotten a whole bunch. And it took for me to learn that she was the one bad apple that rotten a whole bunch. And this is when I knew I had to get rid of her. This is when I knew. My maintenance tech came up to me. He was hired before all of them, including the woman who I liked. He was hired before her. So he came on with us in the beginning, and he was thugging it out. You understand what I'm saying? He was like, I got you, T. Whatever you need, I got you, right? He called me Miss T. And he said, I'll be honest with you. He said, I planned on retiring with this company because what you and your husband doing, I love that and I appreciate that. He said, but I can't work for this person. She talked to me like I'm trash. She talked to me like I'm nothing. She talked to me as if I'm beneath her. And I heard his heart. I heard his heart. And because I heard his heart, I knew I needed to make a decision. I knew that I had to do something. By the grace of God, she put in her 2-week notice. By the grace of God. So while all of this happened, I had to tear it down. I said, I want to start this the right way. I'm going to do all of the lead property manager work. Why? Because I know how. And I'm going to be slow to hire and quick to fire. I don't want to bring nobody on my team that I don't believe is qualified. So what I did was I went back to my core values. In order to tear down and build over, I need for you to put your foundation. You got to pour your foundation. That's the first thing you do. You grade the land, and then you pour your foundation. Well, doing that, right, you got to establish your core values. What are your core values? Because whenever you have an employee complaint, whenever you need to have a conversation with an employee, you can match it to your core values. My core values is we operate in the light, L.I.G.H.T. What is the light? L is for loyalty, I is for integrity, G is for growth, H is for humility, and T is for transparency. Everything we do, we align to the light. That is the foundation of our management company. So once I got that foundation poured, then I start framing my team. So the framing part of the house, if you would, right, you pour your foundation and you start your framing and your black end. You see, what's special about that black end is it is going to literally surround you. So imagine yourself as the front door and everything around you, your side, your left, your back, and your right. All of that is your covering. That's your black end, right? And that team is extremely important. So one of the things I learned along the way as a business owner is just because you hire someone cheap doesn't mean that you did good. And just because you pay somebody a lot of money does not mean you did good. I had to learn how to hire the right people. But in order to do that, I couldn't pass my assignment off on somebody else. I couldn't pass my assignment off to anybody and or the previous people. I needed to be the one to do it myself. So with that being said, I handled all of my interviews. When I tore the company down and I started over, I handled my own interviews. The reason why I did that was because the way that these other interviews were done, these people were not challenged as experienced site managers, and they got through the cracks. And guess what? I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone on bad employees. So let me tell you something. I have what's called the first 10. In the first 10 days, I'm going to know if I like you, if I'm going to keep you. In the first 10 days, I'm going to know that. Why you say that, Coach T? Tell me why. Because I'm going to see your work ethic. I'm going to see your personality. I'm going to see your tenacity. I'm going to see your experience. I'm going to see your heart. If you really have a heart for this, I'm going to be able to see all of these things that are typically hidden. In the first 10 days, I'm going to see it. If you can't pass all my tests within the first 10 days, you're out of here. So I learned that I had to be slow to hire and quick to fire. Understanding that allowed me to take my time and meet with the property managers and sit down and interview them individually. So there was one application that came across during the time the person who tried to backstab me and or backstab me, she really did stab me, right? She did not pull this person application because she felt like they were unqualified. But how many of you know when God is sending a blessing your way, he may close one door and open up another one. And because we serve a God of abundance, there's no blessing that has my name on it that I cannot get and or will not get. And by knowing that, I literally, look, listen to how this took place. I received an email notification from my hiring company saying that this person has asked to follow up. And so I go and open it up, and this person don't list a lot of experience, but some reason I liked her tenacity. So I ended up pulling the application. When I pulled the application, I ended up calling her to interview her myself. Thank God she did not interview with the last person, because she probably would have quit. She probably would have hated her job, being that that person would talk down to them and make them feel like they're nothing. So I am extremely grateful that God saved her and preserved her, because he knew during this time in my life, during this season, I was going to need, I'm Batman, she Robin. He knew I was going to need a Robin. He knew I was going to need someone who was able to be trained, but also quick to listen. So once I sat down with her in the interview, she ended up telling me she owned rental property. I'm like, hey, you don't do your resume justice. You have a lot of superpowers that you don't talk about. And she said, I know, I got to get better at that. You see, I found myself feeling like that was me, right? I don't know how to explain myself to people. I'm just Terica, right? So I ended up training her. And one day we had to do a rent deposit reconciliation. And so it was over 600 deposits that we had to look at. And I realized that this was going to take me all night to do, because it was so urgent and I had to get it done. So I stayed to the office at 9:00 at night. And you know who else stayed with me? That person who would have never been hired had it been for the previous property manager. That person who God had for a blessing for me. So knowing that, she started working for the company. And in less than 2 weeks, she became my assistant property manager. I still have not let my hand off of it. My hand is still in it, and I'm still cooking, because I'm building the perfect team. That's right. Don't let nobody tell you you can't build the perfect team. No, that is not true. I'm telling you, you can hire right. When you hire killers, you can't go back to the people that's lazy. You see, when you hire killers, they take a weight off of you. They take some food off of your plate. Those are the type of people I like to be around, because at the end of the day, they grind like I grind. And money is never an issue for me on what I'm going to pay somebody, because if you are good as you say you are, you're going to drive revenue from me, because that's what a good property manager does. She's going to make sure that my occupancy rate is high. She's going to make sure that my vacancy rate is low. She's going to make sure that renewals are taking place. She's going to make sure that my collections are being collected. That's what a rock star team does. And so some may say, well, what does that rock star team look like, Coach T? Right? So the first thing you do is you have what's called the lead property manager, right? That's the position I came back in. A lead property manager understands the books. They understand the properties. They understand how to run a team. They are the lead, okay? And then after that lead property manager, you also have your maintenance tech. Well, your site manager, your site managers. Now, my site manager is important to me, because at the sites, they are the people that are going to be known at that site. Your residents are going to come to know them. Your residents are going to come to love them. Your residents are going to come to believe in them. So you want to make sure that before you give somebody a site manager seat, that they are able to fulfill the obligations and the responsibility that's needed. The second thing I would tell you is the next part of the team would be a great maintenance lead. You have a maintenance lead, and then you have a maintenance tech. Your maintenance techs report to your maintenance lead. Your maintenance lead report to your site managers. Your site managers report to the lead property manager. You want to make sure you have a good maintenance team, and that you're getting the work orders completed in a timely manner. So that way, if, when renewals come up, your residents will be willing to renew because of it, right? So building this team, I am loving it right now. I feel like I'm back in the middle of things. I feel like I'm back in my youth. I feel like I got my footing back. I don't know if I needed this for a rebirth of me. I don't know if I needed to be stabbed in the back to feel like I got a point to prove and have this comeback attitude and feeling. But what I can tell you is that it has ignited something on the inside of me. And I cannot unsee what I've seen. I cannot undo what I do. When I turn this over to the next lead property manager, they're going to operate in my core values. They're not going to slide from it. They're not going to go away from it. They're going to embrace it. They're going to run towards it. That's the type of morale that we're building. So once you got your maintenance techs, of course, you want your leasing agents, and then you want your vendors list. Your vendors list is important because your vendors do what your maintenance can't do. You see, my vendors come in and do my make readies while my maintenance is doing my work orders. My vendors come in and lay flooring in 2 days. Maintenance may take 2 weeks. So it's important to make sure that you're using the best time for your maintenance tech and also for your vendors. So while building this team, right, I had to learn not to be afraid to fire. So everybody who was up under that previous leadership, I knew was not trained right. I gave them 2 weeks to improve and show me how good they were, or they were going to be terminated from the company. In 2 weeks, I got rid of everybody. Nobody remained from that team. Why? Because I know the work ethic that they have in there is not the type of work ethic I want for our company. I want for our residents to be happy. I want for the community to be happy. I want for our employees and our staff to be happy. I want for our maintenance techs to be happy, our leasing agents to be happy. Look, I know I'm not ice cream. I know I'm not going to make everybody happy, but I would love to work to try to get us all on the same page and we're on the same playing field. That's what I love. So don't be afraid to fire. Don't look at it as, man, I don't want to lose this person. No, don't overpay a person. Don't keep nobody longer than what you should, because you end up keeping people that you do not need. You end up keeping people longer than what you do not need. So don't be afraid to fire anybody who is not stepping up to the plate and doing exactly what it is that they need to do. The next thing I wrote down is when you're tearing down your team, you're tearing down your property management company and your team and everything that's associated with it, and you start building it back up. The next thing you're going to do is invest in the tools that's needed. I had to spend a few $1,000s to get my maintenance team things that they needed to be happy. I now understand why my business partner, Derek, told me that a vending machine was very important to them. I couldn't understand it from that perspective, a vending machine to his past coworkers, but I can understand maintenance frustration when they don't have the tools they need to be able to get the job done. And then they got to sit around and wait until somebody get them the tools. And, you know, the process wasn't efficient. So I went in and I tore down all of the process procedures we had. I rewrote them by hand. I wrote my manual for my management company by myself, and I am still adding to it. Why? Because I know the pain points. Why? Because I know what I'm looking to receive, the deliverables I'm looking for, the accountability inside of our software that I'm looking for. So never be so stingy that you don't want to you don't want to get your maintenance techs the things that they need. There are some landlords that are freaking slumlords, and you slumlords make me sick. You slumlords make my job hard. You slumlords take advantage of people. And let me say this, I got some properties that may not be in the best of conditions because these tenants been there for ages. So when I acquired the property, they were already there and they just don't want to leave so we can do the repairs. But you got some where you have multiple apartment complexes, and it is horrible the way you have people living. We acquired a 10-unit apartment complex, and they had people living there, and they had mold coming out the ceiling. They had water. They had all different type of things taking place. And because of that, these people were living in horrible conditions. And for me, I get upset at that. When my tenants call and tell me, hey, there's rodents, I'm sending pest control. When they call and say, hey, there's roaches, I'm sending pest control. Because you know what, apartments, they just travel from one unit to the next. It's not that you're a bad landlord. You only become a slumlord when you don't send someone to deal with the problem. And then you notify the tenants. But before you notify the tenants, you do a 24-hour inspection notice. Hey, I'm coming to inspect all units within 24 hours. I'm trying to see who got grease left on their stoves. I'm trying to see who got food all on the floors. I'm trying to see where these rats are coming from, because I don't like rats, number one. But number two, it's trifling. So to be a slumlord and let people live in these poor living conditions as if they're in a third world country is extremely frustrating to me. You better watch how you treat people at their lowest moments. You never know when you're operating and working with an angel. That's for you slumlords out there. You never know who an angel is. So you treat everybody as if they are an angel. Slumlords make me sick. Let me not get on my soapbox, because I'll stay on that one for a very long time. Slumlords make my Section 8 work hard. My Section 8 properties, because of you slumlords, they keep on enforcing all these different rules. But then the next thing is, once you get that morale, once you get your team, once you get that, I call it the Power Rangers, right? Once you get your red, your white, your blue, your pink, your black, your yellow, now it's time to morph, babe. It's time to work. It's time to get in there. I have a whole team now, and now we rocking and rolling. There's no way for us to have all of these properties and we doing it ourselves. I have to have a team. So I wasn't afraid to tear it down. I wasn't afraid to start it over. I wasn't afraid to fire everybody. I wasn't afraid to hire. I just made sure that I did it right. I made sure that they went through a test process where they had to be able to pass. You have to pass this exam. When I start giving that test, they like, what? We got to take a test for this job? Yes, you have to take a test. If you say you are an experienced property manager, this test should be nothing for you. And sure enough, it happens, right? So I created an incentive program for my team, and I'm still creating it, and I'm still pulling out bells and whistles. Why? Because I want to show them that I appreciate them. I want to show them that just because I might be the CEO, I'm not afraid to go ahead, roll my sleeves up and help you unclog that toilet. That's the type of CEO I am. But I also want people to have that type of loyalty, right? That's why we talk about the light, right? I want them to have the loyalty to the company to say, my boss know how to get down and dirty with me, but she also know how to run this company. You see, I'm not building this company to keep forever. We're building this company so we can sell it. We're building this company so one day, somebody else come in and we say, hey, this is how you treat these people. You can't always guarantee how the next owner is going to do something, but with the morale and the culture and just the team, you're not going to want to interrupt that. You're not going to want to tear that down when it's so good, not when it's profitable, not when your vacancy rate is going down, not when your occupancy rate is going up. You're going to want, look, make ready, scope of works, all of those things are being turned over in 2 to 3 days' time. I'm rocking and rolling. Look, and I still got all the digital stuff I have to do. My partner don't even know half of the stuff I have to do in the daytime. But I'm literally up when the roosters are up. I'm the last person to go to bed. I shut my computer down last. And I'm sure my team, everybody else on my team, they work how I work, just in different capacities. But when you have the right people on your team, when you have the people that's saying, look, I'm in this, T. I'm in this with you. We got this. I want to be the best management company that you ever ran into. I want my tenants, I want my team, I want them to be proud of where they are and who they work for. And the last thing I'll tell you this is, don't be afraid to incentivize and give bonuses. Don't be afraid. Like we got for our maintenance techs, we just launched it where, they can win a cruise, they can win a day off plus $100. They can, they have the fuel of the month. We'll pay for their gas for the month up to a few $100s. We got the annual award for maintenance of the year where it's $1,000 reward and or paid vacation if you got a passport out the country, if not inside the country. We are doing things to make people say, dang, not only do they appreciate me, they also bringing me places my eyes haven't seen. They allow me to touch things I've never been able to touch before. I'm hearing things that I've never been able to hear before. I'm really growing and scaling, and that's what it's about. I'm not a gatekeeper of information. I am here to be able to multiply who I am, and what it is I do. So this is how you tear down a business, and this is how you start it over. You can take this and apply it to any business you have. Tear it down, meaning that put yourself back as the head and pour your foundation the way that it need to be poured. Put yourself back as the head and hire the people. Stop relying on HR. Stop relying on your assistants and everybody else to do it. Get your butt in that hiring room, sit down and have those conversations with them. And don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid that you have to do this over. Sometimes when we start it over, it come back better than what it's ever been. It is good right now. People are happy. You know, the maintenance is vibing. The site managers are vibing. Everything is going good. And that's because I was not afraid to tear down. So don't be afraid to tear down and start over. And don't be afraid to let people go. I hope that this episode have blessed you guys. Thank you so much for joining another episode of the Property Challenge podcast. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Make sure you click that link and join the Protégé community. We have these type of conversations often. We always post it in our community. We have all type of accountability, words of the day. We have courses. We have all type of stuff inside the community, and it is only $96 a month to join. So 96 or 97, click the link, join the community and get more of these nuggets. If you loving this podcast, subscribe and share with 3 people. I'll see you guys next week. Let's go.